All right, listen, the subject for today I want to teach you is this. What happens when you are entrenched in unverified beliefs? Okay? What happens when you are entrenched in unverified beliefs? I want to start off by sharing a story with you today. Okay? Some of you might have heard me share this story before. And I use this story, especially when I'm teaching children. I love to teach using stories, right? And of course, we adults ain't nothing but big children anyway, so I hope you enjoy it. But here's the story. One day, in a village in South America, a tribal village there, one of the elders of the village, one of the leading elders of the village, awakened early before the sun came up. And he had a lot in his spirit, I guess, so he decided to go for a walk. He didn't want to disturb the other folk there in the village. He went for a walk. And as he's walking, he walked by the stream that flowed through the village. By the time he had reached the stream, the sun began to come up. And he noticed how the rays of the sun were bouncing off the rippling of the water as the stream flowed, right? And it looked like diamonds in the water, actually, you know? And the elder looked at the stream and saw how beautiful the glory of God was, looking at the stream. And he was so inspired by what he saw that when he got back to the village, he shared with the brothers and sisters in the village his experience by the stream. He told them, I saw the glory of God in the stream this morning. He said it with such enthusiasm that the villagers began to talk about his experience. Well, a couple of generations later, somehow or another, what that elder said got twisted around. The elder said, I saw the glory of God in the stream. But by the time people had repeated it so many times, it had morphed into, I see God in the stream. Got me? Okay, and as generations began to continue to tell this, it morphed some more to God is in the stream. And as more generations told the story, it morphed even more into it being the stream is God. Okay? Follow this well. And this began to become the teaching in the village, to the point to where the people in the village began to go out and bow down and worship the stream. One day, a scientist came through and he saw the people worshiping the stream. He asked, why are you guys worshiping the stream? And they said, because the stream is God. So the scientist said, you know what, let me find a way to teach the truth to these people. If I just tell them the stream is not God, they'll run me out of here. So I have to prove to them, I have to show them the evidence that the stream is not divine. So what he did is he took a sample of water and put it under a microscope and allowed the people in the village to come look into the microscope to see the truth, that the water is not divine, that the water is not pure, that the water is not holy, that the water is not flawless. And as the elders came and looked in the microscope, they jumped back, perplexed, disturbed. One elder looked 2 or 3 times, upset. of what he saw when he looked into the microscope. They called the council meeting. And after the council meeting over, the elders came out dancing and rejoicing and singing. They had such rhythm and song that the scientists rejoiced because he thought that they had learned the truth about the stream. They marched and sang over to where the microphone was, and they picked up stones and they smashed the microphone and just broke it to pieces and threw it on the ground and stomped it. And then they began to rejoice because they destroyed the microscope. Why did they break the microscope? Why? Microscope hadn't done anything to them. Why destroy the microscope? Because the microscope revealed the truth to them about the water that they thought was divine. When they looked into the microscope and saw the bacteria and how big it appeared in the microscope, of course they couldn't see it with the naked eye, but in the microscope they saw how ugly and large the bacteria was in that water, and they could not handle it. So they broke the microscope. Brothers and sisters, the story that I just shared with you is a depiction of everyone who is convinced about what they believe, but have never confirmed or verified what you were made or programmed to believe. So I ask the question to you today: why are you convinced about what you believe? Just like those villagers were convinced that the stream was God. Why were they convinced that? Because they were told something like that long time ago, and it got twisted over time to where now what they believe is not true. And then it takes somebody to come along with a microscope, like Brother Ray, to come along with a microscope to make you see that what you thought you believed is not necessarily the truth. So important to understand. Family, listen to me when I tell you this. You should not believe something simply because some old manuscripts have been produced. Nor should you believe something because it's your national belief. Nor should you believe something because you've been made to believe it from childhood. And that's what most of us are. Rather, you might be convinced of what might be true. Yeah. If that's how you're believing stuff, you may be convinced of what might be true instead of what must be true. Instead of believing something simply because you were raised to believe it, or because you were told to believe it, or because it's your national belief, or because you believed it from childhood, rather you should reason truth out. Yes. Reason truth out. And after you've analyzed it, after you have found out that it is good for you and others, then know it. Now, I didn't say believe it. I said know it. Get to know the truth. Don't just believe it, because see, to believe means you don't know. You got me? And that's really what this message is about today. Once you find that this is the truth, then know it. And then live up to it and help other people do that too. Because you will know the truth, right? And the knowledge of the truth will make you free. A very bad and dangerous habit that many people have, y'all. I had it too. Years ago, I had this habit, like many of you out there have it. But a very bad and dangerous habit is incorporating what you hear as truth without verifying whether or not what you've heard is in fact true. That's a very dangerous thing, man. But yet we do this in many areas of our lives. We do that when it comes to hearing rumors, hearsay. We take it as truth. Opinions, we take people's opinions as truth. And most importantly, we take our doctrines and our religious beliefs as truth, even though we didn't stop to verify it growing up. Let me tell you what I've learned about us. I've learned, brothers and sisters, that we wholeheartedly believe and defend what we cannot prove. Let me say that to you again. We wholeheartedly believe. I didn't say no. Believe. We wholeheartedly believe and defend what we cannot prove. And we readily reject and disbelieve what we cannot disprove. I don't know what's wrong with us there, man. Okay? The truth comes to us and we don't want to believe that. We can't disprove it, but we don't want to believe it. But if somebody comes along and tells us something that don't even make sense, it's not even realistic, you want to believe that. You want to defend that. Okay? We need to develop the habit, brothers and sisters, of the Bible verse in Acts 17:11. 17 and 11. In Acts 17 and 11, it says these words. Okay, it says these words in Acts 17:11. It says, and these were more noble than those in Thessalonica, and that they received the word with all readiness of mind. But it doesn't stop there. It says that they searched the scriptures daily to see whether what they heard was true or not. We don't do that. But yet the practice is recorded right there in Acts 17:11 in your Bibles. So why don't you do that? Don't just hear, but search to prove that what you heard is true. Understand, brothers and sisters, when it comes to our soul, our psyche, our mind, when it comes to that and what we feed it, the only thing that we should want is the truth, not tradition, not people's opinion. We only should want the truth. But the truth has a very powerful and effective enemy, family. That enemy is called religion. That enemy is called tradition. Nothing has been more damaging to the receiving of truth as religion. Nothing. Brothers and sisters, listen. In order to free our minds, man, in order to free our minds, we have to be willing. We have to be willing to first entertain the idea that maybe what I've been thinking is wrong. As a teacher, I understand that the first step in freeing the mind of a misinformed person is to understand what has blocked that person from attaining freedom. And then I have to crush that obstruction as a teacher. A lot of times, that's when folk don't like you, when you're crushing the obstruction in their mind that they have become so comfortable with. You see, family, in order to bring salvation to a people who have been miseducated, the teacher must first of all show them where and how they have been miseducated. That's the job of the teacher. So I ask you the question, how does religion or tradition become what is believed to be the truth? How does religion come to be believed as the truth? By three things. The first thing is what you've been told, you receive it. That's the first thing. You received what you were told. You received it because you trusted the people you heard it from. Your parents, your teachers, your preachers. So you received what they told you. Okay? What you see, what you hear, what you experience, you receive that. The second thing is you paralyze your own analytical ability or paralysis of analysis. You received it, but you didn't analyze it. You didn't break it down. You didn't question it. You didn't attempt to analyze what you saw or what you heard or what you experienced. You just accepted it, man. And that's the third thing, acceptance. You accepted what you heard as true. You accepted what was told to you as true without analyzing it. You accepted it. It literally, listen, it became a part of the very fiber of your life. You incorporated it. You ingested it. Okay, then you digested it. And then you established a conviction about it. And then to make it worst of all, you passed it on to others without ever verifying the authenticity of what you were taught. Now, the real tragedy, follow this well. The real tragedy is when you become entrenched in your unverified beliefs. When you become entrenched in your unverified opinions, when you become entrenched in your unverified ideas, and you end up closing your mind to anything outside of what you think you already know. Listen, one of the things that I've learned as a psychologist, as a therapist, and that is this, and that is that the act of psycho-intellectually blinding someone is bestowing lies upon them and then making them believe and teach those lies to future generations. Did you get that? Psycho-intellectually blinding someone comes from bestowing lies upon them and then making them believe those lies. Did you get that? And then teaching those lies to future generations. And guess what, brothers and sisters? Pastors and religious leaders across this land right now today are teaching the lies that they were taught to the people sitting and listening to them. Yes, I did it for well over 25 years. I taught what I was told. Think about what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. Because you trusted your teachers, you accepted, ingested, and digested what they taught you. And then you grew up believing that. Now you're preaching it. Okay? Did you do your homework to see if what they taught you was in fact true? Did you validate it, or did you try to invalidate it? Again, the subject for today is entrenched in unverified beliefs. Now, what is meant by the word entrenched? What do I mean when I say that? Entrenched means to be firmly established in a thing, whether it's a belief system, a thought processes, a relationship, a habit, whatever. To be thoroughly established and firmly established in it, to the point to where it's difficult or unlikely for you to change. God, have I met so many people who are entrenched in unverified beliefs, and they are unlikely to change. I've had to walk away from so many people and tell them, listen, you have the right to remain ignorant. That's your right if you want it. Okay? But there's a verse in the biblical text in John, the 8th chapter, the 32nd verse, and it says these words. You've heard it many times, I'm sure, before. Now, even though I'm quoting it from the biblical text, it didn't come from the Bible. Actually, what I'm about to quote to you came from the walls of the pyramid of Teti the first, not Pharaoh Seti, Pharaoh Teti the first, his pyramid there in Saqqara, Egypt. Okay, it says these words, and you will know the truth and become free as a result. The biblical text says it this way, copied from that pyramid, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, which is really an inaccurate statement. That became the motto of the Central Intelligence Agency. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. But I need to add something to that verse. I need to add something to it. I need to add these words. And the knowledge of. Now let me say it again with those words. And you shall know the truth, and the knowledge of the truth will make you free. You see, the truth alone won't make you free, family. What good is the truth if you don't know it? So it's the knowledge of the truth that makes you free. You follow me? And when it comes to things that pertains to God, the major stronghold that prevents the liberation of the African mind is something called religion. Yes. That's the major stronghold, man, that prevents the liberation of the African mind, religion, and tradition. Listen, y'all, in order to falsify the consciousness of a person or a people, you must manipulate their history. And to manipulate a people's history is to manipulate a people's consciousness. And to manipulate a people's consciousness is to manipulate a people's possibilities. And to manipulate a people's possibilities is to manipulate a people's power. Did you get those four things? Let me say it to you again. To falsify, in order to falsify the consciousness of a person. Listen, if a person has wrong consciousness, then what good are they? Okay? So in order to falsify the consciousness of a person, you have to first manipulate their history. And in order to manipulate a person's history, you have to manipulate a person's consciousness. And to manipulate a person's consciousness, you have to manipulate a person's possibilities. And to manipulate a person's possibilities, you manipulate that person's power.